The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was built to inspire awe. It stretched higher than any human cathedral, its ceiling painted with the constellations of every known empire. Beams of white light floated across the chamber, reflecting off polished walls of crystal and silver. Delegates from hundreds of species filled the seats, their voices humming like a restless sea. Outside the transparent walls of the hall, fleets of ships hung in orbit, each vessel representing the pride of its people. Alien ships glimmered with sleek designs, glowing engines, and elegant wings shaped for speed. Some looked like curved blades, others like radiant birds. They were works of art as much as they were weapons. And then there was the human ship, the Resolute. It was nothing like the others. Instead of beauty, it carried weight. Instead of sleek curves, it wore thick plates of armor. Its engines pulsed dimly, not flaring like the bright wings of alien cruisers. To alien eyes, it looked clumsy, old, and hopelessly slow. Whispers began the moment it appeared. "Is that truly their warship?" A delegate from the Vithari asked, her voice sharp with disbelief. "It looks like it crawled out of a scrapyard," muttered a thin-armed Sarathian, his long eyes gleaming with mockery. "Perhaps the humans are showing us a museum piece," another voice added, followed by laughter. The sound of mockery spread like fire. Many of the aliens chuckled. Some outright laughed, their sharp voices echoing across the chamber. A few even clapped in false applause, as though the humans had played a joke on themselves. At the human table, the officers sat stiffly. Their jaws clenched, their hands balled into fists. Pride stung like a knife. They had worked for years to build the Resolute, pouring Earth's scarce resources into every plate, every weapon, every circuit. Now they were being humiliated before the galaxy. But Admiral Marcus Hale, leader of the human delegation, did not flinch. He was a tall man, his hair streaked with gray, his uniform crisp, and his face carved with lines of discipline. While his officers shifted in anger, Hale's eyes remained calm, almost serene. He let the storm of laughter wash over him like waves against stone. At the center of the hall, the council chair rose from his throne of light. His long, shimmering robes rippled as he raised a hand. "Let us welcome our human friends," he said, though his lips curved into a small, mocking smile. "Their ship may lack grace, but perhaps it carries character." Laughter followed again, louder this time. The humans were the target of the moment. Even those who had stayed silent before could not resist joining in now. One alien leaned close to another and whispered loudly enough for humans to hear. "Do they even understand modern war? Speed wins battles, not that." Commander Reyes, sitting at Hale's side, whispered through clenched teeth. "Admiral, they insult us, in front of everyone." "They insult what they do not understand," Hale replied softly. His eyes never left the galaxy of ships beyond the glass walls. "Let them laugh. The truth will come when fire falls." Still inside, he could feel the weight pressing down. Humanity was young compared to these empires, barely a century into interstellar flight. Every meeting at the council felt like walking into a room where giants mocked a child. Yet Hale also knew something the others did not. Humanity had studied their wars, studied their losses, studied every arrogance these empires carried. The aliens built for speed, for beauty, for style. Humanity built for survival. As the laughter continued, Hale bowed his head slightly, not in shame but in patience. The other delegates saw it as weakness. They thought humanity was too timid, too slow, too backward to matter. They did not know that silence was sometimes the greatest weapon. And in that moment, as the mockery thundered around the chamber, Admiral Hale made a quiet vow to himself. When the day came, when the storm of war arrived, humanity would not be the ones broken. The council did not yet know it, but the slow warship they mocked would one day decide the fate of them all. The laughter from the chamber still echoed in the ears of the human officers as they returned to their quarters aboard the Resolute. Some walked with stiff shoulders, some with clenched jaws, and some with eyes burning in quiet rage. They had worn their uniforms proudly, only to be treated like a joke in front of the entire galaxy. Commander Reyes slammed his fist against the metal wall as soon as the doors shut. The sharp sound echoed through the room. How long do we have to endure this, Admiral? How long will they look at us as if we are children playing with wooden swords? Admiral Marcus Hale stood by the wide observation window, staring at the galaxy outside. His reflection in the glass looked calm, yet his heart carried the same sting as his officers. Still, his voice was steady when he spoke. "Reyes," he said, "do you know why they laugh? Because they think we are weak?" Reyes replied bitterly. "Because our ship looks heavy and old compared to their shiny toys." Hale turned slightly, his gray eyes steady. "No, they laugh because they have never known fear the way we have. They do not understand what it means to fight for survival, not pride. They build ships for speed and beauty because they have forgotten the weight of desperation." The room grew quiet. Other officers listened now, their anger softening into thought. Hale continued, his tone almost like a teacher speaking to his students. "For centuries, humanity was alone. We fought wars against ourselves, against hunger, against the void of space. Every step we took into the stars was bought with sacrifice, and when we studied the histories of these empires, we saw the same mistake repeated again and again. They chase speed. They chase elegance. But in doing so, they weaken their strength." He walked toward the center of the room, his hands clasped behind his back. "The Resolute is not meant to dance. It is meant to endure. Its armor can take blows. Their ships cannot. Its weapons fire slowly, but each strike is final. Where their ships falter after the first hit, ours will keep moving forward." Lieutenant Arya, the youngest of the group, raised her voice timidly. "But Admiral, if they are so blind, how will they ever see the truth?" Hale paused, then allowed himself the faintest smile. "They will not see it in this chamber. They will only see it when the storm comes. And when it does, we will not need their approval. We will need only our resolve." The words settled into the crew's hearts like fire into cold steel. The anger that had burned hot now turned into something deeper: determination. They were mocked, yes, but they knew their ship was not a relic. It was a promise. Later that night, as the Resolute orbited quietly above the Council world, Hale remained awake in his quarters. His eyes traced the stars, his thoughts heavy. He remembered Earth, the crowded cities, the long nights when factories built armor plates in silence, the children who waved at soldiers leaving for space. This ship was not just metal. It carried the hope of billions. "They will never understand," Hale whispered to himself. "Not until the fire falls." Across the galaxy, alien empires polished their ships, raced their engines, and celebrated their elegance. They laughed at the humans, certain that Earth's people were too slow, too weak, too old-fashioned to matter. But Admiral Marcus Hale carried patience like a blade. He knew war was not a game of speed, but of endurance. And when the galaxy finally faced an enemy that could not be outrun, only humanity's slow warship would stand unbroken. The council chamber was alive with noise the next morning. Delegates argued about trade, territory, and the endless rivalries that filled the galaxy. For the humans, it was another long session of speeches, where their voices were often ignored. Admiral Hale sat silently at the edge of the chamber, listening, but saying little. Then the alarms began. The deep shuddering sound of warning bells echoed through the crystal walls. The lights in the chamber turned red, pulsing like a heartbeat. Every delegate froze. Every conversation died in an instant. From the ceiling, a cold mechanical voice announced, "Unidentified fleet detected at system edge. Estimated strength overwhelming. Shields at maximum alert." Panic broke the silence. Voices rose in fear. "Who is it?" shouted one delegate. A moment later, the answer came. "It is the Kroll Dominion," cried a guard. His scaled face was pale with dread. Gasps spread through the chamber. Even the most powerful empires trembled at that name. The Kroll were not diplomats. They were conquerors. Their fleets spread like fire across star systems, burning worlds and enslaving those who resisted. No treaty had ever stopped them. No defense had ever held them for long. The great window at the chamber's side displayed the stars beyond, and there, like a dark tide, the Krull ships appeared. Their hulls were jagged, built not for beauty, but for terror. Their weapons glowed, with cruel red light. Ship after ship poured into the system until the sky itself seemed to darken under their presence. "They shouldn't be here," one alien delegate shouted. "They swore they would respect council space," cried another. But everyone knew the truth. The Krull respected nothing but power. Within minutes, the first planetary defenses lit up in fire. Beams of light struck the Krull fleet, but the enemy hardly slowed. Their return fire was merciless. Entire defense stations exploded into flames, their debris scattering across the black void. The council chamber shook as the world below trembled from orbital bombardment. Alien fleets scrambled to launch. Ships of every shape and size rushed to form a defense line. They streaked into the sky like arrows of light, engines blazing as they met the invaders. And the Krull began to learn fear. The battle raged on, but the rhythm of it had changed. At first, the Krull Dominion had swept through the system like a storm, confident that no fleet could stand against them. But now, their advance faltered. Each time they tried to push forward, the Resolute's cannon answered with thunder. One by one, the giant enemy ships fell apart under its strikes. Their hulks drifted in silence, glowing with the fire of destruction. And though the Krull still outnumbered the defenders, fear crept into their lines. They had faced many fleets before, but never one like this. Behind the Resolute, alien ships began to regroup. Commanders who had been panicked only moments ago now saw a chance to fight again. They realized something important. The human warship was not just surviving, it was leading. "Form up behind the humans," one captain shouted. "Use their ship as the anchor," cried another. And so they did. Fragile cruisers took shelter in the Resolute's shadow. Small strike craft darted forward, launching attacks while trusting the human ship to take the punishment. They could not. Where once the battlefield had been chaos, now there was order. The Resolute was the center of it all, steady and unbroken. Inside the council chamber, the change was just as clear. Delegates leaned forward, eyes wide, watching the human warship endure hit after hit, only to answer with devastating fire. No one laughed anymore. The mockery of yesterday was gone, replaced by awe. "They built it to withstand this," one whispered. "They sacrificed speed for survival," another added. "They never planned to run," said a third, almost in reverence. On the Resolute's bridge, the crew worked with fierce determination. Reports of damage filled the air. Scorched plating, failing shields, ruptured conduits. But no one wavered. Every officer knew why they were there. Every strike they endured meant another ally survived. Lieutenant Arya's hands flew over her. "Consul." Sweat dripped from her brow, but her voice was steady. "Shields holding at 60%. Hull integrity stable." Commander Reyes shouted over the noise of battle. "Admiral, the aliens are rallying behind us. We're giving them hope." Admiral Hale stood firm at the center, his gaze fixed on the tactical display. His voice carried calm strength. "Then we hold. As long as we endure, they endure." The Resolute fired again. Another Krull battleship shattered, breaking into two flaming halves. A cheer rose not only on the human bridge but across the entire Allied fleet. Hope spread like fire through the stars. For the first time, the Krull Dominion hesitated. Their commanders pulled back, trying to regroup, uncertain of how to crush this stubborn enemy. They had expected an easy conquest, not a wall of iron standing in their path. Hale saw it. He could read the shift in their movements, the hesitation in their attack. Slowly, a small smile touched his lips. "This is humanity's strength," he said softly, though his crew heard him. "Not our speed, not our elegance. It is our will to endure, our refusal to break even when the galaxy believes we cannot stand." Every officer felt his words strike deep. They were tired, bruised, and worn, but their spirits blazed brighter than ever. They were not fighting for applause or recognition. They were fighting because survival demanded it, and because they carried the weight of Earth on their shoulders. Outside, the Krull tried again and again to break through. Waves of fire poured against the Resolute, but the ship held. Its cannon fired in rhythm, slow but unstoppable, each strike a reminder that patience could be deadlier than speed. And as the galaxy watched, something changed in their hearts. They had mocked humanity for being slow, for being backward, for being weak. But now they saw the truth. Humanity had built differently, thought differently, fought differently. When others raced, humans endured. When others broke, humans stood. And in that endurance, in that steady strength, the galaxy began to realize humanity was not a child among giants. Humanity was the storm they had all overlooked. The Resolute pressed forward, fire lighting its path. It was battered but unbroken, wounded but unyielding, and with every strike, it carved a lesson into the stars. The battlefield finally began to quiet. Where once there had been a storm of fire, now only wreckage drifted in the black sea of space. Pieces of Krull warships floated aimlessly, glowing with dying embers. The Dominion fleet, broken and bloodied, was retreating into the void. Their arrogance had been shattered. Their confidence had burned away. At the center of the battlefield, the Resolute remained. Its armor was scarred, its hull cracked, and smoke trailed from deep wounds across its surface. But it was alive. It had not bent. It had not broken. The slow warship had endured where countless faster, prettier fleets had fallen. Inside the council chamber, silence reigned. Delegates who had laughed at humanity now sat pale and speechless. They had mocked Earth, mocked its ship, mocked its people. But what they had just witnessed burned away their scorn. They had seen courage. They had seen endurance. And they had seen victory. The chamber doors opened. Admiral Marcus Hale entered, walking slowly but with the weight of triumph at his back. His uniform was singed from the battle, his step steady despite exhaustion. The hall, which once echoed with laughter, now fell quiet as stone. Every eye followed him. He did not bow. He did not smile. He simply looked around at the gathered rulers of the galaxy. "You mocked us for being slow," Hale said, his voice firm, but not cruel. "You mocked our ship for its armor, for its weight, for its patience. You told us speed wins battles. You told us beauty decides wars. And yet today, when the fire came, it was your fleets that fell first." His words cut through the silence. Many delegates lowered their eyes in shame. Others clenched their hands, unable to deny the truth. The Resolute was not built to run, Hale continued. It was not built to dance. It was built to endure because humanity has always known struggle. We have fought hunger, darkness, war, and despair. We do not win by being the fastest. We win by refusing to fall, no matter how long the storm lasts. He paused, his gray eyes sweeping the room. This is humanity's lesson. Do not mistake patience for weakness. Do not mistake silence for surrender, because when we strike to end the fight. The hall remained silent. No laughter, no whispers, only the heavy weight of respect. For the first time, humanity was not seen as the youngest child among empires. They were seen as something else entirely, an equal, perhaps even something greater. On the battlefield, alien survivors gathered near the Resolute. Their damaged ships fell into formation behind the human warship, as though instinctively recognizing it as their shield. Pilots who had once mocked humanity now spoke in reverent tones. "They saved us," one captain whispered. "The humans stood when none of us could," another replied. And across the stars, messages spread of what had happened. Stories of the slow warship that had faced the Dominion and endured. Stories of the people who had been mocked yet proved themselves with iron resolve. On Earth, billions watched with pride, tears in their eyes. Children who had grown up hearing that humanity was small now believed in something greater. Farmers, workers, and soldiers all knew the truth. Humanity had carved its place among the stars with fire and endurance. Back aboard the Resolute, the crew sat exhausted at their stations. Some wept quietly, some laughed in relief, some simply leaned back and breathed deeply, grateful to be alive. Commander Reyes looked at Hale with respect shining in his eyes. "Admiral," he said softly, "the galaxy will never look at us the same again." Hale gave a small nod. His face was calm, his voice quiet. "Good. Not for pride, not for glory, but so they will remember. When the storm comes, humanity does not break." And so the lesson was carved into history. Never mock the slow warship. Never doubt humanity's resolve. For when humanity strikes, the galaxy itself trembles.